Greenland? Yeah, that place you barely know exists. Out of nowhere, Trump and his people are talking about it like it's a national emergency. Headlines, envoys, politicians publicly saying the United States needs Greenland. And now we even hear talk that citizens there could be offered money, up to 6 figures each according to reports, just to get them to agree to American plans. But stop for a second and ask the real question. Why now? Why would anyone suddenly care about a frozen land most everyday people couldn't point to on a map while we're struggling to pay rent, buy gas, or put food on the table? There's something they're not telling you, something beneath the headlines, and it's bigger than you think. Greenland has always been there, a frozen territory under Denmark, mostly ignored by average people. Yet suddenly, it's urgent. Suddenly, it's headline news. And that's exactly the point. When elites start making moves nobody fully understands, it's not for us, it's for them. The strategic value of Greenland isn't in glaciers or reindeer. It's in the stuff beneath the ice. Rare earth minerals critical for advanced technology. Minerals and metals needed for defense production, and potentially massive energy reserves that every major power wants access to. It's also about location. As Arctic ice melts, new shipping routes open that shorten trade paths and give whoever controls them a massive strategic advantage. That's leverage. That's power. You heard right. They're talking about offering money to Greenlanders. Seems generous, right? Wrong. That's how you get consent without a fight and sanitize the optics. Offer the people money, call it partnership, make it look voluntary. And suddenly, nobody wants to call it what it really is: pressure for control. But you and I know better. That's the same trick used throughout history. Give a little, take a lot, and frame it as generosity. Let's look at the timeline. Greenland was strategically significant in World War II as a staging ground for weather stations and military bases. During the Cold War, the United States established long-range radar and early warning systems there, because location matters when you're watching for missiles. Then, for decades after that, it was mostly quiet, at least in public conversation. The general public didn't care, and the press mostly ignored it. But beneath the surface, military planners never stopped paying attention. And when the Arctic became more accessible due to climate change, that interest didn't start. It accelerated. Here's where it gets serious. This isn't 2019 Buy Greenland talk recycled. In January 2026, top U.S. officials openly discussed acquiring Greenland's strategic assets and didn't rule out forceful options. That sent shockwaves through Europe. Tens of thousands of people took to the streets in Denmark with signs like, "Greenland is not for sale." Greenland's own leadership has publicly rejected any takeover attempt. NATO allies are warning this could fracture alliances. U.S. lawmakers are scrambling to calm tensions because even Republicans and most Americans don't support a military takeover. This is not a fringe headline. This is a geopolitical crisis. So why does this matter to you? Because it shows you the real game. Regular people can't pay their bills. We're taught to squeeze our budgets and ignore headlines. But when Greenland becomes a flashpoint for national security, strategic minerals, and Arctic military positioning, that tells you something. Money flows where power is being secured. And power is rarely secured just to make people comfortable. It's secured to benefit the powerful. And let's be real, when the people in charge decide they need something, it almost never means anything good for everyday people. The contracts, the resource deals, the defense contractors, the consultants and investors who blink and make millions while the public is still confused. That's how this game works. People get rich, nations reposition, and citizens keep trying to understand why they see headlines that feel insane when their own lives are getting harder. It's tempting to see this as just politics, as Trump being Trump. But when you step back, the story is consistent with history. Cold lands, weak oversight, strategic resources, and a population that can be swayed with money and headlines. That's the blueprint the powerful have used for centuries. Nothing here is new. Only the faces and the technology have changed. And you better believe there's more we'll never see. The contracts whispered in back rooms, the deals cooked in international finance, the governments leaning on each other behind closed doors. They won't broadcast that to us. But the pattern? The pattern tells you everything. Money offered, history ignored, urgency manufactured. That's how power works.
It's very important. Greenland is very important for the national security, including of Denmark. And the problem is, there's not a thing that Denmark can do about it if Russia or China wants to occupy Greenland. But there's everything we can do. I can't rely on Denmark being able to fend themselves off. They were talking about they put an extra dog, and they were serious about this. They put an extra dog sled there.
He wants the United States to control Greenland. That is the American position. And you would think that our allies in NATO, again, who we keep safe, again, American tax dollars are keeping Europe safe and free from every adversary in the world. You would think that they would want to support America in this matter.
That's how Greenland suddenly became the hottest real estate no one actually wants, except the people who stand to profit. So we watch, we wonder, we get frustrated. But here's the takeaway. The reason Greenland is suddenly in the headlines isn't because you needed to know it existed. It's because someone with power decided it mattered, and they're going to make sure you hear about it loudly. Not because it helps your life, not because it feeds your family, but because it feeds their strategy and their wealth. And now you know the logic. Now you see the pattern. Now you see the street-level truth behind the hype. If this made things click for you, it's because you're not looking for outrage. You're looking for understanding. This is the place to come when the timeline makes no sense, when everyone else is screaming, and you want the story stripped down and real.